onto YouTube. Thank you, Expats Portugal premium members, for being here on Zoom as well. And of course, we'll prioritize your questions and just making sure we're okay on YouTube. Yes, we are. So, good evening to everybody on YouTube now, officially. And then coming back to the other Zoom window. There you are, everybody. Fantastic. So, Carolina, talking of being a king, representing the Queen of Visas tonight. Carolina, I understand Gilda is in North America at the moment. How are you? Tudo bem?
Hi, hello everyone. Yes, Gilda is in Canada this week, so we remain strong and still, but everything else is looking good. Ima has been working slowly, but well, I said good, but I meant okay because things they have been
Downgrade.
rescheduling a lot of appointments for people that had theirs for these upcoming months. So this June, July, and August have almost all of them been rescheduled. But at least they weren't out of an appointment per se. So at least it's not totally bad. So yeah, we've faced those alterations.
Well done. And this is the impression I've been getting from Gilda recently, Carolina, is she's quite pleased with how things are going. It's slow. It could be better, but there's signs of improvements, which I'm sure everybody is pleased to hear.
Yes, and of course there was a political change, and that affects things, especially slowing things down because all this stuff is political. So they have to wait for the new thing, hair quotes, to be settled in, to be able to have the new rules, even though it's the same as before, but it's always a little bit different. So we will
Yeah.
see.
Well, I understand the Prime Minister was sworn in today, so he is officially Prime Minister again. And then the trading will begin, won't it, with Chega in the officially in the number two position with all of the last results in. So there'll be some trading going on, I think, for the balance of power in these coming weeks, as you say there, Carolina, and we'll see what effect that has on migration policy going forward. Thanks, Carolina. Anything else to report from the front line of migration where you are every day?
Well, I think this is the bigger thing for people that had their appointments rescheduled to not worry. They are not alone.
Yeah.
It happened to a lot of people. Other than that, I believe everything else is looking the same and slowly but sturdy moving forward.
Very good. Thank you for being here tonight. So, any questions you've got about visas, about migration, moving to Portugal from in that department, please put them in the chat, and we'll make sure they get to Carolina this evening. Right, let's go to Nuno Mensch, who I had a little bit of a insurance crisis, and turns out it was all my own fault, which I'm sure Nuno is really glad to hear, because it really wasn't like Winsurance to not respond. It seemed like they weren't responding. And as it turned out, I got the most excellent service. They had the wrong email address for me. My fault, as it turns out. When I lifted the Scooby-Doo mask off, there I was. It was me all the time. It was great service, Nunu. I've been given another car. Sorry, Joao. So we'll come to you about cars and people buying them in a moment. But very kindly, I've inherited another POB, the Portuguese brand POB, Portuguese Old Banger. And I made a call to the insurance team to get it insured, and they just took care of everything beautifully. Except they had a wrong email address for me from way back that I hadn't changed, and they'd done everything right. I just couldn't see it because of this email problem from my point of view. So cracking work, your team. Thank you. Could you give my apologies to Amelia for me, please, Nuno?
Yeah.
Thinking that I'd been let down, but you guys have done everything absolutely right behind the scenes. So thank you.
No, actually, we need to thank you for that.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Right,
because
I snagged your system.
I'm going to explain it because if we do everything right, but the other part, so the customer, is not aware of, we are
Yes.
failing.
Right.
So due to that, we have introduced a rule which is every time that we conclude any contract, despite the email, we call or we send a WhatsApp.
Oh, so double check.
Yes, double check. So
Yeah.
thank you, Carl.
Well, your team are going to hate me now, aren't they?
No, 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 at all, at all. You know that
Right.
we all love you.
It's
So
like it's like two-step verification now. That's a great idea, actually, isn't it? So
yeah.
so when you do have a numpty like me at the other end, it definitely gets taken care of. So I had to act very quickly, and you did too, as it turned out behind the scenes. So thank you for sorting the car
And,
policy out. Great work.
and we know that sometimes emails go to the spam box. Otherwise, they
Yeah.
just don't reach the the end. So when we
Yes.
don't know why, so yeah, it's better to double check. So,
Okay.
thank you,
Well,
Carl. Thank you,
you're
Carl.
welcome. You're welcome. With me and my incompetence. Right. Anything else from you, Nuno, from the world of insurance?
Yeah, we had this morning a very good meeting with one insurer because we are actively work on the longevity.
Yeah.
So it's good, but it has also some cons and some issues. So we are working with an insurer to tailor uh, a value proposition to people that it's over 60 and it's concerned about some questions, but we'll let you know maybe in 4 weeks ahead.
Okay.
So,
All
so
right.
we're
So
just working on
exciting
this
things. You're
just now.
working hard behind the scenes to create more value for our members here. That's great to know. Thank you very much for being here. Is that everything from you for the
Uh,
time being?
I would like to share with all you with you all. This is public information and it's about the public system. So in 2024, hospital expenses, only hospital expenses with the medication, and public hospitals, okay, they increase 16%, only medication, okay. So we're not talking about surgeries that are much more expensive. So only with the medication, the Portuguese state has spent more 16% with hospital medication, and one third of the cost was with oncologic disease.
Right.
So we are not talking even about the cost of the treatment. We are not talking about the cost with surgeries with oncologic disease.
Mhm.
Only medication is one third with the overall of the medication, with the spent with medication that the public system has.
What will that mean, do you think? What's that going to mean?
Um, I believe that somehow the Portuguese state will start to introduce some. I don't I don't want to call restrictions, but to be more careful regarding the assistance
Yeah.
and who they are assisting. Okay.
Right. Okay. A bit more discernment in the system.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's impossible to do this other way.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's been a huge test for the infrastructure, isn't it? Recent sort of migration patterns. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
only to be expected in a way.
because and I'm a customer also,
Yeah.
and I have a health insurance policy, and we know how much costly they became with age.
Yes.
But when we look to the public system and we see these numbers, so it's
Yeah.
a way that we cannot avoid. It's the
Yes.
increase of the insurance premiums also.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Thanks for the heads up on that, Nuno. Not the best of news, but an explanation of what's going on for people in the backstory there.
But
Sorry, go
the,
on.
the good news is that this government also they reinforce this idea, which is reinforce the healthcare availability. But
Right.
I think that they start focusing on the biggest issues like emergencies or
Yes.
urgencies, and not so much the daily assistance. Okay, but this is just my opinion.
Bit of
That's
reprioritization there from the government. Okay, thanks for all of that. On a lighter note, football. I know you're a football fan, of course. Spain 2, France nil at halftime. Portugal, of course, beat Germany last night, which is a great result, and number 7 getting a goal as well. At least one I saw when I was out and about last night. A great atmosphere in the bar that I was in. Thank you, Nuno, for the time. Oh, Spain just scored again. Wow. Okay, we'll keep that coverage. Diana, I didn't realize you were such a big football fan. So that's interesting. Is it the same tournament, Nuno? Could that end up with a
Yes,
Spain and Portugal final if this goes?
exactly. It will be an Iberian final for sure.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Right. Okay. Very good. Let's keep an eye on that. I'm liking the sound of that. Very good. That's going to be another busy night in the bar.
And,
Right.
and
Okay.
thanks, Diana, for the
Yeah.
update.
Yeah. Thanks. Keep it coming, Diana. Yeah. And sorry if it's a spoiler for some people as well. João Amaral, good evening to you. Good to see you. How is it in central Portugal? You're in Orang, of course, a lesser known part of Portugal, central Portugal. How has your day been, and how's it going in the world of the motor trade?
Hello, everyone. The motor business is going very well. I think in the beginning of the year, I thought that this year we will be a little bit slower than the last year, and so far it proves that I'm wrong. Either used and new cars are growing. This month, the last month, May, new cars sell more than they were sold in previous COVID in 2019.
Really?
It was a very good month for car business, and we saw that in used cars also in our company. We broke every records. We sold 30 cars in a stock that we have with 55 cars. So more than 50% of our cars were sold in the month of May.
Great.
So it has been very good. And also with expats, we sold, I think, 4 cars last month for the expats. It was excellent, excellent.
Very good. I'm so pleased for you. What's the boom? What is the car buying boom about? Is it credit based? What's going on in the country?
I really don't have an explanation. I keep thinking that it should be slower than last year. And sorry, it's my kid here.
Has he
Espera
got an
bocadinho,
opinion
filho, o
on it?
papai já vai. Vá, falar. Sorry.
Oh, so don't worry, Joel. We know you're a family man, and we appreciate you being here late at night. So thank you.
I keep thinking that it should be slower, and I don't understand this growth, but it's okay for me. It's good to
Okay.
be like that, of course.
Fair enough. Yeah. Debbie's saying more and more Americans moving to Portugal, and they're used to having cars. So the American car ownership boom in Portugal as well. A little bit of an effect there, possibly as well.
And May normally it's the month that rent a car, buy cars to the summer. Okay. Maybe can be that in the new cars. I don't know, but it happens all year. So even in rent a cars, it was more than last year. Okay.
Yeah.
So if the explanation is that even that is more cars than last year. So for us, everything is going very well. I keep having contacts from the expats to give quotes, to give some advice, and I'm very happy, and everything is going very well.
Well, they are too, Joel. You get great reviews and great results working with people. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, long may that continue. Excellent stuff. We'll come back to you if anyone has any questions about cars. If there's a brand that you're looking for or an alternative that Joel might suggest, anything to do with motoring here in Portugal. Well, Jerry often steps in on some of the motoring issues as well. But when it comes to the cars themselves, we've got João Amaral to answer this evening. We will come to you, Alistair, because you're a kind of spotlight speaker. But I need to go to Rodolfo first, if I may. Sorry, Alistair, you moved to the edge of your seat. I'm not doing it on purpose, but you're the bit. We really want to hear from you tonight with what's going on with the dollar and the euro. Rodolfo, last time we saw you, you seem to be, well, at the end of the presentation anyway, both you and Daniel were pouring a big glass of red wine in
That's
Spain.
true.
Did you have a nice time?
We did. We were at a congress in Madrid. It was very interesting. We were around 320 lawyers from, I would say, 76 to 80 countries.
Wow.
So it was really nice. We got to meet fellow colleagues, discuss several different issues throughout the experience of the colleagues, immigration, real estate things happening all over the world. It was very interesting, Carl.
I bet.
This happens once a year, and we keep in touch on like we do here in WhatsApp groups and video conferences, etc. So it's a really interesting network that we are in right now.
Well, welcome back to business here in Lisbon, I'm guessing today. How's it been for you today, and what's going on in the world of law?
Well, I have Daniel off of the office for a few weeks, doing work on his boat. So he's
Oh, very
working
nice.
remotely. So
Right,
you can imagine
Capital
that
is
I'm not
away.
breathing at all.
Capital Reis is away, is he, at the moment?
Captain Reis is working on the boat and working remotely to raise Pelicano.
Very good.
And I have the office on my back, so I'm quite busy these days. But everything's fine. A lot of work, Carl. Looking forward to this old new government. That after the election, the old prime minister was re-elected. So he has been mentioning he's targeting bureaucracy, which is quite interesting.
Yes.
So he's saying that he's planning to invest in technology and reduce bureaucracy. If this happens, I think everyone here will be very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in a Registro office on Monday dealing with a car ownership document. And, AI is in the back of everyone's minds, isn't it, at the moment? And you're thinking to yourself, I mean, a lot of this work could be done online and in a different way. How are you feeling about that from the world of law and regarding the bureaucracy in Portugal? Do you think AI is going to have an impact anytime soon?
I hope so. Not only the law firms as well, everybody, because if we reduce the bureaucracy, we will increase productivity.
Yes.
Reduce the time frame, which is the main concern for everybody, especially people that are dealing with IMA, that the AI is helping. They'll have huge lag times. So if we have a reduction in bureaucracy and an increase in efficiency, I think will be a very good result for AI, for us, for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're keeping an eye on that, and I think it's going to change very quickly when it'll be an exponential curve, I think, won't it?
I hope so. Yeah, I think so. Well, they need to invest a lot, Carl. For example, the tax authority system, it's a very old one. They haven't invested in that system for many, many years. So, I mean, it will take some time because they need to make some investment there. But if the guy is talking about it, it's a good sign.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Any questions about the law? We can put them to Rodolfo Pelicano, who's with us from Reis and Pelicano this evening. There are questions coming in as well as football results tonight. Some questions for Carolina. But the big news, Alistair Sweetman is here from Spartan FX. Now, he can't promise us fantastic rates at the moment, buying euros if you're a dollar holder, but there is some strategy possibly to attenuate, mitigate the worst of the situation at the moment. How are you doing, Alistair? And how can we address that? Finally. Sorry, Alice. It took a long time, didn't it?
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I mean, where to begin? Yeah, I mean, I'll try and keep it concise, but I mean, ultimately, there's so much you can say about the dollar, the trajectory, the catalyst, why it's doing what it's doing, what it may do in the future. So let's start at the back, which is that I can help you guys. Well, we can as a business. We can help you strategize. We can help you by locking the rates in. We can help you with kind of proactive information, some guidance on the rates, what they're likely to do, or where they're going to go if certain things get better or worse. And we just do that by doing what all the banks and other technical analysis do, which is just look at previous historical trends, trend lines, previous highs and lows and such. The thing with the dollar, and the thing that, well, firstly, just I guess, and tell me to stop ranting in a minute, but firstly, January 2025. Let's go back a bit. September, October last year. the market was buoyant. Everyone thought Trump was going to do, deregulation, huge amounts of infrastructure improvement. Tariffs hadn't really been, well, they've been talked about a little bit in the campaign, but no one really sort of factored that in really into projections. Certainly Wall Street didn't really see it happening, nor did any of the big investment banks.
Wow.
The dollar was kind of expected to get stronger and stronger. And so we did see that kind of, improvement in prospects, outlook for the US economy. And that was on the back of, and really on the back of an environment where the dollar's been strong for years and years and years.
Mm.
And unfortunately, as we've seen over the last few months, reality is bit, and certain things have become true, which is that maybe long term, what Trump's doing may help the US economy. He doesn't appear to understand really how tariffs work on a base level. But even everyone's got a different view on that, and whether it's short term pain, long term gain, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But now what everyone's talking about is like a massive sea change in terms of the US dollar long term. Is this a generational change in the dollar? Is this the first time ever that the US dollar now has become less of the kind of the golden calf, as it were? So really, what you're looking at is, whilst the dollar has lost 8-9% over the last 3-4 months, a lot of banks are thinking it's going to get worse, unfortunately.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons why. We're all hoping that won't happen, and there might be reasons why that may not be the case. But there's a few things. Markets hate indecision. Trump is indecisive with tariffs. Businesses can't invest long term or even short, medium term either, because they don't know what the tariffs are going to do from one day to the next. They can't hire. You've got the domestic situation with Doge, the firings. You've got, all sorts of stuff happening. I was just watching the news now with US weather reporters who've talked about hurricanes and forecasting for the last 40 years, and they're saying we can't really do it accurately anymore because there's not any. There's a 40% reduction in staff. We can't, weather balloons. With that all going doom and gloom, there's some pretty nasty stuff that may well influence the dollar longer term. So yeah, forgive the meandering, but the market has now stopped believing that the dollar is going to be number one until such time as, and here's what I was thinking. The midterms is in 18 months' time. If there's a sweep by the Democrats, then maybe things will start to either improve, or will it be, will he even sort of, acknowledge the results, for example? What's going to happen in the meantime? How much money is actually being moved out of the US economy? Look at the bond markets. There's like huge sovereign, wealth funds moving funds out of the US dollar. You've got a rebuild of the Eurozone infrastructure. You've got a massive rebuild in terms of army. There's a lot of, flight into places like China, Japan, obviously the Eurozone. Money's coming out of the US, not at a sort of panic rate, but there's a slow drip, and obviously the dollar is looking for some good news. And have we got the right administration to give you any good news? It's a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, there's so much to talk about it, but to be honest with you, there are ways that you can take advantage of good news. So here's an example, just a really quick one. 90-day pause in tariffs 2 weeks ago. The dollar had a 2% snap in its favor for the first time in weeks and weeks. There was a bit of good news, and the market bought the dollar only for about 6 hours.
Right.
But there was a 2% gain. And we can get people positioned with orders to take advantage of a sudden snapback in terms of a bit of a dollar rally. So you can say, well, if we get to a certain price, 90 or 89 on dollar euro, for example.
Yes.
Can we put a trade in place that will sell X amount of dollars and buy euros? So we can do that for you. There's no cost to do that. We can also help you fix the rate for a long period of time. We've had, obviously, for the last several years, we've had halcyon times with the dollar at 95, 96.
Yep.
And for all you guys watching, the conditions probably aren't there for that to happen. It is the reality. So the question is, like, what is going to happen to the dollar long term? Best case scenario, we might see it back to sort of 92. Worst case, it'll be down to 80. Morgan Stanley think it's going to be at 80, which is 125 on the inverse by Q2 next year. And that's just based on the kind of current projection. And of course, banks get it wrong all the time. No one thought it was going to happen 3 or 4 months ago. Wall Street got it all wrong. Everyone was dollar bullish, and there's a huge flight to quality now out of the US dollar. So So we can help you, of course, lock in. We can help you fix rates for up to a year in the future. And indeed, one of the kind of recommendations we're saying to people at the moment is that, if you've got a certain amount of, like, let's say, dollars over the next 12 months, your exposure is X amount of money. Well, why don't you fix the rate on a third or a half now? And then if the dollar does actually start to improve long term, if there's again an improvement, if tariffs get pushed back, then at least you've got the other half to lock in at better rates and then improve your average rate that way, or you can do it for a month or 2 months, whatever it might be. But the difficulty, I think, is that you're dealing with a guy in charge who is the deal maker, but ultimately, there's not really any evidence of that, is there? And I could, maybe my political bias is showing, but really, it's quite a challenging time to,
No, I understand.
It's quite significant, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you for your analysis. No, absolutely no problem with that. It's really helpful to get the backstory from somebody in your position with this, and also to offer the practical, pragmatic response to it. So that it can't be changed, can it? What's happening, but people can prepare themselves a little better to weather the storm, as it were, by having a chat with you, opening an account, and starting a conversation. And I think there are things we didn't expect to be having this conversation, did we? That's one of the the markers of this. We didn't expect to be talking like this, but given that we are, I'm glad you're here to give us that sort of information and a response to it.
I mean, look, there are reasons that the dollar could get stronger. Geopolitical risks. It's still a safe haven currency.
Yeah.
Russia, Ukraine. I mean, what's happening over there at the moment doesn't feel like there's going to be any cessation of the war. I mean, if anything, just look at the press. Again, this is so doom and gloom, so forgive me, everyone. But in the UK press today, we had people saying, "Get ready for missiles."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all a bit insane, let's be honest, and that's obviously worst case scenario. But no, look, all Trump's got to do is essentially say, again, good news today. He had a chat on the phone with President Xi from China. They had quite a quick phone call, but everyone was waiting for it to happen. And of course, culturally, Trump isn't quite, sort of Chinese way of doing business, for example. But again, that's a good thing. So, we could find that in 2 or 3 months' time, tariffs have been agreed globally. They're only 10-15%, and actually, businesses can reinvest,
Breathe out a bit.
then job creation happens, economic explosion, everything's back to the races, and but at the moment it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. So yeah,
fair enough. And as you say, the market looks for confidence, doesn't it, rather than indecision and difficulty and nebulousness of this kind.
Yeah, and it's like, how much has happened in 4.5, 5 months, and there's another what is it, like 41 months still to go, 43 months still to go.
Well, I appreciate your analysis. It's useful that people know what's going on, I think, and thanks for bearing with us on that, everybody. Like I said, we didn't expect to be having these sorts of conversations, but that's how it is. And that's how you can prepare as well with our colleagues at Spartan FX. So, Alistair, stick around, if you will, if there's any further questions for you about how to manage that, because I think because this is a new conversation, a lot of people aren't used to having it or understand some of the terminology. I think you've got a reputation, your team, of being quite patient with people on the phone. If they want to ask what they might think are silly questions, you can walk them through it.
Yeah, of course. And actually, what we offer is a very simple service. It's better rates than banks. It's a kind of friendly service where we can talk to you on the phone. We can have Zooms with you whenever it's convenient. We can update you on messages. We send bulletins out to people with our updated thoughts on the outlook and stuff. And actually, it's a, excuse my French, it's just about to swear then. It's an enormously overwhelming decision, especially now. You've got stock markets in the US that are kind of doing things they haven't done for quite some time. You've had a 25-30% correction. That's impacting people's net worth. You've got obviously the dollar's up and down a little bit. Market's waiting for some good news on that. But really, everyone's got a different risk appetite. Some people are just concerned about the future. They want to take advantage or do things now. They want to remove that risk or that uncertainty. They want to let us, help them and lock in a price for a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Some people are making reasonably significant changes to their plans over the next 4 or 5 years because, they were looking at moving to Portugal or Spain or wherever it was, France, Italy, Germany, when, they were looking at 95 or 90 to 95. And
yeah, for sure. Yeah, there are people here who can remember those days.
Yeah, this is quite a sharp end of a unfortunate situation with Trump. But I mean, maybe, as I said, maybe he'll realise that what he's doing is the wrong path.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. But yeah, we can provide you with updates, weekly updates. Change, if the sentiment changes dramatically and everything's like, oh, we're off to the races again, then obviously we'll let people know.
Yes.
But it's just that downside is quite alarming, and so we can help you protect against that with
All right.
some of the
Thank you
assets,
very
not
much
all
for
of it.
that.
You don't have to go all in one, basically. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for your input and insight on that. And Alistair will be here if you want to know more how to open a free account, how to get in touch with the team. We'll take questions of that kind in the chats. And there's quite a few questions here now. So thanks, Alistair, for that, for the time being. Much appreciated. And yeah, I think quite reassuring. This isn't the time to be an ostrich, probably, is it? I think it's useful to have some conversation to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way to approach it really is that, in terms of our service, you can register with us anytime, free of charge. There's no obligation to use us. You'll get your own dealer, consultant. He's got years of experience. He'll get an understanding of what you're up to, what your timeframes are, what you got in terms of savings, pensions, liquidity, what your 3 or 4 year plan is in terms of your money. And then they can help you at least try and either minimize the downside against, the uncertainty, or if there is an upside, then we'll let you know about it and then you can take advantage as well,
Very
So,
good.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, Alistair. Good on you. A lot of regards to all the team there. I nearly said respect to the team, but I mean that as well. But regards to the team tomorrow morning when you speak to everybody there. I know a lot of our members have their own dealer, as you put it, and these are great friendships that people create with you. So let's go to the questions. Yes, Valerie says a lot of shifting sounds with IMA. So we go back to you, Carolina. They also rescheduled ours twice to September now. This is what's going on for people. Our D7 visa expires July and we are here. What impact will this have on us, please? Now, that's a useful question to answer on behalf of a lot of other people, I think, Carolina, and you must be getting a lot of this at the moment.
Yes, that is a very common concern. So currently, the government has a decree law extending all permits until the end of the month, so June 30. Most likely, a week before the finish this deadline that I just said, they will issue a new one, hopefully until the end of the year. As soon as it does, we will mention it here.
Yep.
But we are expecting it to happen because it is in place now, and it was in place before this one as well. So since IMA has not been able to answer to everyone in a timely manner, we believe they will do it again. So just wait a little bit on this news, on this information to be more assured. But in this case, it's not the person's fault. So it's always with the IMA appointment, proof of it, the email, it serves as enough proof of why the person's here.
At least for Portuguese border
Yes.
purposes. Yes.
For
Okay.
Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And that might well be one of the first jobs then that the government do is to extend that to give IMA a little bit more time to respond to all of this and the big backlog. Okay. Thank you. We go to MI. Carolina, what is the real time frame to get residency cards after the IMA appointment? I think the emphasis is on real there, isn't it?
Yes, I liked the realness of the question. So one step behind. Technically, it should be up to 90 days. But from our experience, what we feel is it differs from IMA to IMA. So, for example, there are a few very fast ones like Braga, like Portimão, but then there are the others, which, for example, Castelo Branco, Lisbon, they take like 4 months. So there are a few here and there, like Porto, 2 to 3 months. So yeah, it depends. All these timings that I'm saying is assuming that the process that the person submitted is fully correct. Okay, not diving into if they are waiting on the person to add more paperwork, if they were waiting on like an apostille document. let's assume all that is out of the question. Normal, fully correct process. Okay, those are the timings.
All right, thank you very much for that. There you go, MI. If you've got any more questions, do let us know. And we have a question, a comment as well from Jonathan Booth. Rental cars in Portugal. You did mention rentals, João Amaral, and obviously they're a very big buyer of the new car market. And they're buying their cars for their fleets and putting miles on them. Or we do that bit, don't we? The consumers put the miles on the cars that the rental industry buys. I rented in February at $5 a day, says Jonathan. $5 per day for a week, and yes, the car had an engine even and all four wheels. It's not unusual to get deals like that, Jonathan. Is this cheap because of winter? We are going to live in Tavira for 5 months to fall winter and not own a car, but just rent for trips when we need to. Any thoughts? Jerry, you might want to come in there, having lived down in that part of the world, and comment on this strategy as well of like not owning a car, but renting when you need to. It does get a bit expensive, doesn't it, in the summer?
Well, it can do, but if you live somewhere like Tavira, Tavira is very easy on there's a rail link all the way across the Algarve, so it's very easy to get backwards and forwards from Tavira to Faro or to the other end at Villarreal, San Antonio by train. I think that's first point. Second point is I think we're seeing more and more people are doing this now where they want to live car free.
Yep.
But we'll rent a car off season because of the cheap rates, and €5, €6 is not unusual per day. You won't get a big car for that, but you'll get a car.
At 500. You know what you're
And
saying.
pack everything into that sort of, that week or so where they need a car to travel around areas that you couldn't otherwise get to by public transport. So I think it's becoming quite a popular trend to do that.
Yes, and you just have to be careful and keep an eye on the deals, and yeah, be careful with the time of year and gather your errands, I suppose, into one place that require a car. João Amaral, I think you sometimes organise rental for people, don't you? Do you have a comment on this as well?
No, we don't do
Oh, okay.
rentals. Okay, we don't do it. In that specific case, if John doesn't need the car in the summer and or all year, if he can rent in prices like that, it's a good deal. It's a very good deal.
Okay, thank you for that.
But even in winter, those deals are difficult. Maybe you can do it this year, and maybe next year you won't do it. We never know. We never know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a lottery, isn't it? But well done,
Yeah.
Jonathan. Keep an eye
We
on.
generally, I'm sorry, Carl. We generally have some pretty good pricing with Zest Car Rental, which you can access via our webinar, and there's a discount for premium members as well, which you add in at the checkout. So they're always worth looking at, checking their prices, and they include some things like the insurance is for 2 people and not just one, and things like that, which can cost extra when you go to Avis or whoever, Hertz or whoever.
Yep.
So they're worth looking at.
Yeah, find Zest in the business directory. I used them myself actually about a month ago on 2 different occasions, and they're great. And it's the combination, isn't it? You go into Zest and then you use a local supplier. Zest are actually an agency, like an aggregate site. And I find Rent Auto, great Portuguese firm, Rent Auto, are very helpful, and they have offices in Sete Rios and also in the Algarve as well. Very helpful company, like a family-owned and independent company with great prices as well. Excellent. All right, Jonathan, I hope that helps there. Rodolfo was adding, usually the prices go up summertime with the increase in demand, of course, supply and demand there. Going to Jim's iPad, back to you, Carolina. Currently, what is the average time for visa approval from the consulate? Also, please, when days are mentioned, it's a classic. Is it calendar days or business days?
Well, regarding the days, they are business days. And regarding the average time depends on the consulate. So if we are talking about the US, normally it's between 2 and 3 months. And if we are talking about the UK, normally it's a month and a half.
Right. Okay. There you go. Nice and simple there.
If they want to know a different country,
Yeah.
I can also estimate that, but normally between 2 and 3 globally.
All right, to the person known as Jim's iPad tonight, that's for you. Thank you for your comment, Diana B. I think we know how a lot of people feel, and that comment underlines that. To April, Alistair, does your firm, let's go to you, Alistair of Spartan FX, does your firm have strategy for those that have monthly retirement income in US dollars that needs to be transferred to euros, not one large sum, yeah, large one, just living expenses transferred into euros? I'm guessing you do have quite a lot of people in that situation, don't you, Alistair?
Yeah, very much so. We've got what we call the RCT, so it's just acronym of the regular currency transfer. You've got two options. I think what most of our clients are doing at the moment is that the amounts that are involved monthly are, there'll be several thousand up to probably 10, 15, whatever it might be, depending on circumstances. But you can lock in the rate similar to the what you call a forward contract, where you basically fix a block of money for a period of time in the future, up to 12 months from today. We can do that with your pensions or any sort of monthly income that you got, whether it's passive or rental, whatever it might be. And yes, the rate's guaranteed for the whole 12-month period. You pay 1 month deposit up front, and then we'll essentially buy the full amount of those 12 months for you at the agreed rate. And then we'll just you'll set up a standing order from the US side, ping over your dollars, same day of each month, $2,500, for example, and then we'll send out you 2,200 euros to your Portuguese account the same day of each month, free of charge. So it's a super nice service, and it runs itself. And actually, every year, two things will happen. Either the dollar's going to get a lot better, and we'll go, "Oh, that was fun," and the history books will look at this as an interesting time.
Yes.
And then next year, your pension will be worth more euros. And the year after again. So every year you can basically then do a new 12-month RCT. And indeed, you can do a 6-month if you want to do a shorter period of time.
Very good.
And also, if you want to, for example, lock in for 12 months, the dollar's still a bit soggy, and you want to just do a ad hoc, transfer month by month as the market goes up and down until such time as the dollar's 5-6% stronger, then you lock in again for another period of time. Yeah, really nice service, very, very useful. Because it means, you have peace of mind for a year.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, the service is the RCT. Is that what you call it?
RCT, yeah. So basically, what I'll do is you'll say, look, I've got $2,000, monthly commitment coming over from a pension. So that's $24,000 that will essentially go to market and sell now. We'll have those 20,000 euros on account. You send us 2,000, we'll send out 1,800, whatever it is, euros per month, and just do that every month. So once you've set it up, it runs itself.
And that's some proper peace of mind. I mean, that is definitely a strategy, and that's what you were asking for there, April. You know where you stand, don't you, for 6 months or 12 months, and the stress can be taken out to some extent.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, again, without trying to put salt in the massive gaping wound, but over the last whatever it is, 8 years, well, since financial crisis, dollar's been strong. And yeah, we've had RCTs with clients locking in at 96, 97, and they're very happy.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Okay.
What about doom and gloom as well?
No. So you really don't need to apologize. I think you've been very measured in your analysis and what you've been sharing.
Time will tell.
Some others not so much in the chat, but that's only to be expected. It's quite raw at the moment. Absolutely. So thanks for that, Alistair. There you go, April. That's your question answered there. Peder, I wish that one could fix Portuguese property prices. Alistair can't do that for you, Peder. If only he could. That would be quite an amazing business extension for Spartan FX. Is there a budget car rental service that works with premium EP members? Yes, Debbie, that was Zest that we mentioned before. And you'd probably have to get the train to Lisbon to pick up. Probably I think generally Zest will be airport pickups. So Lisbon, I suspect, for you. I'm just about to launch a question. I haven't got too much news because there's a lot of political news and not a lot of great sort of summertime news at the moment. But we've got some other things that we want to share with you this evening. We're going to go back to that question of how many islands there are in Portugal and find out what our panelists' favourite islands are in Portugal, as well as the busiest beach in Portugal. A survey has just revealed. So is it Costa da Caparica? Is it Praia da Falésia? or is it the Coimbra River Beach near to Debbie? Debbie will have a particular view on that, I'm sure. Come back to that in a little while. Some memorable car rental advice from Diana. Thank you, Diana. Use the Zest app. Avoid all US companies. And 2, don't use a credit card with unlimited capacity. That's a really good call. I think the reason probably, Diana, that you're saying don't use the US companies or the big corporations in rentals is because they want to upsell you all that terrifying stuff. You arrive after a long haul flight and then they terrify the life out of you about what could go wrong and then tell you how much you have to spend to get rid of all of that. So Zest definitely a good. And yes, be careful when you're laying down your credit card on the deal. You might want to use one that isn't unlimited or blocks off other spending. Great advice from Diana there. That's fantastic. Debbie's asking you, Joao, does your company also do car loans, in particular for someone 70 years old, and approximate interest rate? So financing on cars, can you help with that?
Yes, we do credit, but the problem here that I am facing with the expats is that the Portuguese banks want income in Portugal. Okay,
Yeah.
they want IRS done from the last year, and it is virtually impossible to get a credit to the expats, because most of the people doesn't have income here in Portugal. So what we are doing is to suggest people to talk with their own banks and treat all with their own banks. Okay, so that's much easier. We just some documents of the car, okay, and like an invoice. Okay, we do that to the client, they present that to their own bank, they treat all in the bank, and then they pay us directly. Okay, so that's the best way that we found to do that.
Very good. So you have a strategy for that. So there you go, Debbie. That's your question answer there. Thanks, Joel, for that. April asking of Carolina, will Portugal IMA honor their rule if they, IMA, have not evaluated your resident application within 90 business days? Then you are automatically approved. Also, is it expected that the result of Portugal elections impact negatively or positively on the residency process? Well, that's interesting. 2 very different questions there. Could you do the first bit? And then we'll come to the second bit and maybe bring Rodolfo in on that as well. Over to you, Carolina.
Yes, thank you. So regarding the first question, no, you cannot expect that means an approval if after 150 days they don't respond. We'll just have to inquire further on why is it taking so long. It's not common to go further than that moment. As I was saying, normally, if everything is done properly, normally the most it goes is for 4 months. So yeah. Regarding the second question, this new government, it's quite of a continuity from the previous one. So they had a very objective view on immigration, and they were being very thorough, but and meticulous about establishing better conditions for staff, for the applicants, and they have promised to do more of that. So they, for example, with the renewals, they have said that they wanted to do a task force for that, because the current services at IRN have not been able to fulfill the needs of the people with expired permits. So that's a good thing. When they said the same thing for expression of interest, manifestação de interesse, they did it. So they promised and they fulfilled it. So hopefully they will do it for this matter as well. They've said they are going to hire more staff, and so on. So I believe this new government is looking very with a very human eye to this immigration matter. So bringing conditions, bringing the dignity that the people were promised when undergoing an immigration process. So, and that's I me personally, I'm very hopeful and very keen on seeing what are they going to do next, because everything that they have promised and actually done has been for the better. So hopefully we'll continue. So
That's really great to hear, and I wasn't expecting that, and perhaps that's not what the question was getting at. Although that is lovely to hear that you know that there are clearly two parts to it, aren't there? There's the infrastructure that the government really should be focusing on, and it sounds like they are from what you say. But then there's the political side of it, isn't there? And how the sort of political influence and the leanings of particular people in Portuguese politics want to influence migration policy. So I suppose it's infrastructure and policy. And I think to the foreign, it's a concern, isn't it, that Chega are now in the second biggest party and will be working with the government and the prime minister to influence the law. On that note, Carolina, what are you expecting? Will the way the law works make the government focus on infrastructure, and the sort of political nastiness that people might fear can't make its way to the front edge of things?
well, I believe it will be a good thing that they are being so hands-on on making things go faster and smoother.
Yeah.
So looking into the residency process by having more people taking on appointments, more workers, more centers that provide those appointments. I believe the people will wait less time for their permits, to hopefully make. They have also been talking about making the process more less paper, more digital. So hopefully that as well.
Right.
And this back and forth of paperwork to be a little bit less stressful. So hopefully so, but it is too soon to tell. But in my view, the perspective is optimistic.
Very good. Rodolfo, would you like to add? Thank you, Carolina. Rodolfo, would you like to add anything? You know, I know both you and Daniel have a view from a legal and constitutional point of view. What would you add to that?
I think that what Carolina mentioned is perfect. I agree with her, and exactly what I mentioned at the beginning, right? With this government trying to prepare the technology part. But I think that what you were trying to mention is the concern of changing the laws in regards of like blocking immigration, or
Yes.
or changing the way the country sees immigration
Yes.
process into the country. You know, Carl, Portugal really is a country that depends on immigration. They really depend. So even if they change the policy, they change the rules, they become more thorough on the process and everything. I think they will not like block everybody or restrain the immigration, but they perhaps will take more careful on the documentation that they're reviewing and in the process. But to do so, they need to start to organizing the people that are here already, you know, because I think it's a good thing that you have immigrants in the country, and Portugal, as I said, needed. But you need people to be here legally, need to be organized, need to be able to work, maybe to have their own life.
Yes,
If people
indeed.
are they don't have the documentation properly, they're entering the country like the Manifestação de Interesse did for many years. This causes a big problem, and this causes the idea that they need to block immigration, which is not true. They actually need the immigration in the country and will continue needing. So perhaps there will be some changes in the law in this regard, but I don't think it will be something Portugal don't want you over here.
Very good. Good to hear that. Thank you so much, both of you. Very reassuring. And that was for April there. I suspect that's what you were getting at there, April, but that's a very reassuring note for everybody there. Peder, just a quick one for you, Alistair. Let's see if we can find out how many islands Portugal has got. And we want to bring you forthcoming attractions as well. So the pension service, the RCT, I think you called it, pay the money to you and then transfer it to the retiree's bank account in Portugal, presuming that one does not want to or need to retain a bank account in the UK. Is that how it works, Alistair?
Yes, I mean, you have got, when you register with us, a multi-currency account, so into which you can transfer in or out any major currency. We do all the major stuff. We don't do any restrictive stuff like, Russia and Ukraine and certain African countries, for example. But yeah, so essentially what you can do is you can provide your client account details to your pension provider, whether it's dollars that you're sending in from a US company, sterling in, for example, or if you're going, euros in France to Australian dollar, for example, if you're going the other way around, they can do all that. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Very good.
Yeah.
Great to have you here tonight, Alistair. Thank you. Thank you to all the dream team. I think we're going to sort of lighten the mood a little bit now. I'm not referring to you, Alistair. It was we've got all those questions, and the beach question it is Praia de Falasia is the busiest beach, so maybe avoid that at the busiest times. Thank you everybody who took part in that, and that was the majority of the answers was right there. Not the Coimbra River Beach, although it does get popular and busy, and so does Costa de Caparica, just south of the river there. But Praia de Falasia is the busiest in Portugal, so be careful there. It's absolutely beautiful, and that's why it's so busy, but choose your times wisely. Diana, I've got to get to this. Is there an app in Portugal where people can offer their cars for short-term rental? Nuno, you might know about this as a sort of a lateral thinking thing, and somebody who knows about car insurance. Do people lend their own cars? Is that possible in Portugal?
I know that this kind of agreements, I'm not talking about business, but agreements, they exist, especially with caravans and camper vans, very often on summertime.
Okay.
I know that people do that, but
don't know of an app though, do we? I mean, we just don't have a population. Yeah.
I never searched, so I'm assuming that it should have a website where we can find that, but
well, there might be a digital nomad working on it as we speak, who's in Portugal. It sounds like a great app. That's Get Around in the US. There might be something similar in Portugal soon. If anybody knows about that, maybe you could pop that on the forum for us. Jonathan, thank you for doing that Zest quote for us live on air. Those figures without the Expats Portugal discount. Fantastic. Debbie says, always a great dream team meeting in Obrigada. Always a great dream team meeting, obrigada. Let me put that full stop in there. And there are 23 inhabited Portuguese islands, everybody, just in case you were wondering. And very quickly, thanks to everyone who's been here this evening, I just need to very quickly run through what's coming up in the coming weeks. We've got the Social Saturday. We're doing the Dream Team, as you can see on the online town hall right now. Social Saturday with Hank and Connie at the weekend there. On Saturday the 7th. Wednesday the 11th is a Portugal Golden Visa 2025 special with Holborn Assets. Next Thursday, Essential Estate Planning, a very important one for expats in Portugal. Safeguard your assets and your loved ones. And we have, of course, the Tavira meetup happening on Saturday the 14th. Premium Lounge after that, estate planning on Thursday the 12th. And then on Thursday the 19th, discover the charm of living in Cascais. We've got so much going on here. Become a member at expatsportugal.com. Let me just say, bang on, 10 o'clock. Thank you very much to the Dream Team. You've been amazing tonight. Great job, Alistair, especially there with those strategies. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the premium members for supporting us and being here. And thanks, everybody, over on YouTube. Jerry, was there a final word or should we leave it there?